Hey, welcome back to the lecture. So in the previous lecture we saw a reading of some of the raw values from the sensor, and we converted that into G values, and the results were as expected. There is no much drift in the values even though we have not calibrated the sensor. Okay, so I'm happy with the values which is actually come out from accelerometer. Okay, so at rest x and y are closely zeros. Z was showing 1G, right? Great. So now let's do some experimentation. So now what I do is, in this lecture and as well as in the coming lecture, we will see how we can measure the tilt angle across x and y axis. Okay, so now what I do is I will change the output. So I will just turn off this printing, because I don't want to print like this, because I'm going to use Excel sheet here in order to plot the data. Okay, so I'm going to just turn on this. Okay, so this printup just prints out the G values over x and y and z axis. Okay, great. So now let's run this application. Okay, so let's build this first. Okay, the build was successful, and now let's copy this. So now let me execute this. My sensor is completely at rest, no problem. Okay, so these are the values I'm getting out of the sensor, and what I do is I will just close this, and I will just click select all here. Okay, and I will copy these values, and I will go to my notepad plus and paste it in your notepad. Okay, so these are the x, y, z values. Okay, great. Okay, so now what I do is I will just open my Excel sheet. Okay, so here what I do is I will just select this. Okay, select this column. So in notepad what you have to do is you have to press Ctrl Alt Shift. Okay, and then you have to select this column. So you have to come down and then select here, just copy this and go to your notepad and paste it. Okay, and here let's do for y and z axis also. Okay, so I'll just select this. Okay, so I'll just paste here. Okay, and I'll just do for this also. Okay, I will just copy this and I will just paste here. Okay, so after that what I do is I will select all these three columns and I go to insert and I will just put them in a graph. Okay, and if you just format this or select data. Okay, this is actually not series 1, so this is x, right? And this is y, and this is z. Yes. Okay, great. So now here you can see x is approximately equal to 0 and y is almost equal to 0, but z is showing 1g of acceleration. Okay, okay, so that's what we expected, right? So I just plotted it as a graph. Okay, great. So now what I do is, okay, so I'll just delete this. This is okay. So now what I do is, okay, so now let me again execute the application, and this time what I do is I will just shake my accelerometer for a couple of seconds. Okay, so now you can see that there is lots of variation in the data. Okay, so let's again copy this. Okay, so just select all and now copy this. Okay, then go to your notepad and paste it and repeat the whole step. Okay, I'll just skip that, copying these tables onto the Excel sheet. Okay, so I'll just skip that step. Hey, welcome back. So I just copied all these three columns here. Okay, this was our previous columns. Okay, so now I'll just select all these three columns. Okay, now what I will do is I'll just plot them. Okay, all right, so now let me just format it. So So this is the output we got when we shook the sensor. Okay, and here you can see that, okay, there is no much change in the Z direction, okay, because we actually shook the board in the horizontal direction, in the Y axis, isn't it? So I shook the board like this, okay, so that is the reason you got huge spike up and down, okay, so because I shook it left and right, isn't it? It's positive and negative, so that's why you got a huge spike in the Y direction. The Y axis is actually showing huge variation, but look at the X and Z axis, okay, so they are almost identical. G values of course will be 1 in the Z direction because the gravity is pulling it, okay, but look at the pattern, okay, it's almost identical, okay, but the Y is showing the huge variations, okay. So you can repeat this experiment by shaking the board in the X direction, okay, then you will see that the spikes will be high in the X direction, okay, so you can repeat that, okay. All right, so now let's do one more experiment, okay. In this time, okay, let's see how we can measure the tilt angle, okay. Okay, so let me execute my code, and now what I do is I will tilt my board, okay, on the positive Y direction like this, okay, and I will then come to rest. All right, great. So now let's stop this, and now again let's select all and let's copy this, okay, so and I will copy all the columns onto the Excel sheet, okay, so I will just skip that step. Hey, welcome back. So I just copied all these 3 values. So we actually tilted our board on the positive Y direction, isn't it, like this. So let's plot this Y axis, okay. So I'll just select that and I'll just go for the graph, and here you can see. So the Y was 0, then I slowly tilted my board, that means the angle to the surface increased and it reached till here, and then I decreased the angle to come back to the rest position. Okay, so you can see that the graph has come out very nicely. So this is the place where I raised the tilt angle and then I came to the reset position. Okay, so this actually happened in the positive Y direction, so that's why you are getting the result on the positive side. Okay, and okay, so let's delete this and let's plot all the 3 columns. Okay, and here you can see that. So this tilting of board on the positive Y direction is nothing to do with X-axis, right? The X-axis is still parallel to the ground, so that's why it won't show any deviation. Okay, so but there is slight deviation you can see here. Okay, but X is almost constant. Okay, like it looks like it is unaffected, but Y is changing the angle from 0 to some value. Later we'll see okay what exactly is the value of the angle, and then it came back to rest. And look at Z here. Z value was actually decreased, right? So because of that tilting operation on the Y axis, here you can see that as the G value of the Y started increasing, the G value of the Z axis started diminishing. It's because the force acceleration due to gravity is now shared by these 2 axes, right? Right now both the axes are now experiencing the force. Okay, so that's why the value is divided across Z and Y axis, okay, as shown in this diagram here. Okay,